fuck it. What the fuck it do? Who the fuck are you? Frankie in my name and I got Frankie on my shoes. But I just wanna pump a blicky and a pump. Shooting like I'm Iverson, cause this shit gonna pump, yeah. Can't waste no time. We done grown so much like a great gold vine. Mistake what's mine. We done shot to the top, ain't no rocket science. We bout to blow up. Never gonna stop, gonna drop with no brakes inside. And that's for sure. Never gonna stop, gonna keep this fast. 20 that token, I'm finna go put it in motion. You don't know what we doing inside of the lab. We be cooking up more than just potions. Way more. Yeah, we plotting and scheming some rich shit. Yeah. We whipping some biscuit. Yeah. And these other projects couldn't fuck with us, cause they don't know my fingers are big lit. We big lit. What the fuck it do? Who the fuck are you? Frankie in my name and I got Frankie on my shoes. But I just wanna pump a blicky and a pump. Shooting like I'm Iverson, cause this shit gonna pump, yeah, yeah.
Gonna pump, no doubt. Coming for the top, we've been covering out routes. Parksville looking like a penthouse. At the top of the world, I've been chilling with the clouds. Hey, blackout in the booth, working all night, man, I've been in my groove. AC 130, gotta hit him like Chris Move. Man, these bars coming in hot, ain't nothing new. Doc's in the mood, he been putting skeletons inside the brew. Hey, got the peasants in the room and the citizens here and my governors too. Listen, beat so fine, man, every time I take a look, I go blind, man. I'm hypnotized.
What the fuck it do? Who the fuck are you? Frankie in my name and I got Frankie on my shoes. But I just wanna pump a blicky and a pump. Shooting like I'm Iverson, cause this shit gonna pump, yeah.
Back row.
Yeah. I turned to a monster, grew up with no papa. Deadbeat daddy, put more weight on my mother. I just kept on digging, get these diamonds at the rock, yeah. And now I'm here, and I'm blowing up your chakras. Bitch, I need that cargo, money out the iPhone. If we got a problem, then I'm pulling up the rifle. I'm the top dog, you can't name me a rival. You gave your best shot, it was dead on arrival, bitch. When I die, put my ledger in the grave. That's word to Drizzy, yeah, you know what I'm saying. I sold my soul to the fucking blockchain. When I die, put my ledger in the grave. I'm powered up and I'm going nuts. Handing out these hits with another cut. Hey, you buying fiat, man, you dumber than Dumb and Dumber. I might just re-up on some ETH, man, you gotta love it. Yeah, this for my OGs. I don't want a home, I need a toad, yeah. I don't want a girl, I want a crypto hoop. And a fur ball with a dental loop. Gas super hot, I don't give a fuck. Big smoke holding up the line, Pizza Hut. Yeah, can I get combo number 2? Put a crypto punk in it. Oh, why don't you? Monster, grew up with no papa. Deadbeat daddy, put more weight on my mother. I just kept on digging, get these diamonds at the rock, yeah. And now I'm here, and I'm blowing up your chakras. Bitch, I need that cargo, money out the iPhone. If we got a problem, then I'm pulling up the rifle. I'm the top dog, you can't name me a rival. You gave your best shot, it was dead on arrival, bitch.
I'm God, king of the crypto and NFT talk, don't bling on my wrist cause my ledger been popping. I don't know nobody that could ever come and stop me. I've been catching bodies in the booth on kamikaze. King of the words and the verbs on chain. Shit so hard, I've been ripping off chains. Ring on my phone, guess my ex wanna hang. Got my first 20x, let these NFTs brain. I'm on the come up, I'm on the hunt, Attila the Hun. Really racing, man, I gotta go run a bakery. Now I'm making these blunts, shit is bananas, I'm calling your nana. I'm trying to get her onto the DeFi. Mainstream banks with these deep lies. Man, they're saving incentives a weak side. You'll be losing your mind on this side. Flipping them alts on this side. You'll be buying a JPEG on this side. You'll be comping a Franken on this side. Man, I'm in a hurry, man, I'm in a hurry. Chefing it up, I've been making a curry. I got a ledger out of New York, and I got a ledger chilling in Missouri. 2020 made my vision not blurry. All of my songs, they eat like McFlurries. Ethereum wine to dance in my liver, and a shout out to all of my Frank and furries. 3D Franken Familia. You already know what it is, man. Let's go. I'm God, king of the crypto and NFT talk, no bling on my wrist cause my ledger been popping. I don't know nobody that could ever come and stop me. I've been catching bodies in the booth, I'm kamikaze. King of the words and the verbs on chain. Shit so hard, I've been ripping off chains. Ring on my phone, guess my ex wanna hang. Got my first 20x, let these NFTs rain. NFTs rain, NFTs rain, NFTs rain. NFTs rain, NFTs rain, NFTs rain. 2020, 2020. Yeah, I'm God.
On God, man, on God. What is up, Punksville? My Punks villains, my Frankens. How are we doing? How are we doing? How are we doing? How are you guys? We chilling? We billing? We doing good? Let's go. I got a great show for y'all today. Got a jam-packed show. Once again, as always, we got a lot to go over. There's been so much going on, actually. I want to take you guys through the markets, some crazy stuff that's going on with the Fed, some contrarian knowledge that that's not being discussed in the mainstream that I think is going to give you all an edge. Personally, I think there's definitely an edge in what I'm going to show you later today. A lot of good stuff, lots and lots of great stuff, and I'm going to preview the next several chapters of content. I've put together, is it 20 chapters? No, it's 12 chapters. I put together 12 chapters of content. Ned and I sat down and have been preparing a plan. We've been preparing a plan, and it's going to be badass. I'll debut the first little teaser, little segment of this story for y'all, this content story. It's going to be deep. It's going to be rich. It's going to be funny. It's going to be entertaining. It's also going to be educational. You're going to learn some great stuff. I'm really pumped to be, leading this and preparing this juiciness with y'all, of course, with the guidance of Sir Nelson. And really stoked to get that in your hands. Yo, what's up? But so let's begin the show, shall we? Let's begin. Let's look into this. I think I told y'all last week. You were here last week. I said, yo, it's starting to look like it's been fun. This rally's been fun, but I'm also skeptical. I'm not buying. I don't think it's a good time to buy. Nothing in this stream is financial advice. This is all purely entertainment. But I think I told y'all, I'm like, yo, this seems like it's losing its steam. Although it is so bullish, my instincts were like telling me FOMO. They're telling me to buy. And so I felt that, and I was just been trying to resist it and chill. And so far, we tapped 25K, and now we're under 23. We could resume upwards again. I'll show you in the charts. We haven't broken this parallel channel yet on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is in, once again, another parallel channel. These are called bear market rallies or bear market channels, and we've done it twice now. What you're looking for in a bullish scenario is a downsloping parallel channel. So the psychology, it's very fascinating to me. The psychology of these channels essentially are priming you to be biased to a certain direction. And the psychology of a bear market channel like so is to prime your psychology that when you think that we're gradually going higher and higher and higher, get you to buy at the best time to sell, and then to liquidate and dump you down and just ruin you. That's essentially the purpose of the upward sloping. You see how it's upward sloping, and the psychology is we're going up, we make a higher high, make a higher low, make that higher high, higher low, higher high, and you're feeling bullish, right? You start feeling bullish. You're like, holy crap, is this where we break out? And it seems like it's just going up. Seems like we're doing good. And then the rug gets pulled right under you. Over here, if you saw back in 2002, 2021. If you look back in 2021, what happened during the summertime, this was fascinating. I actually I was shaken out of my position. Believe it or not, I fell for the fear. And what happens in a they call that a bull trap, right? They call it a bull trap because they're trying to trap bulls. They're trying to trap longs. What we just looked at with BTC going down. This is called a bear trap. This is called a bear trap because, sorry, just looking for my parallel channel. There we go. This is called a bear trap because it is downward. It is downward sloping. Okay, you see how it's downward sloping? It's priming your psychology to be like, oh shoot, man, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. You see that, and you start feeling more negative. When actuality, we haven't even really pierced these lows. You know what I mean? We're not really that bearish, but it primes your psychology to feel like it's a reckoning. And then look what happened, right? Look what happened after. Absolute total bear trap. It's clear as day. So the question is, are we just seeing that again? Well, we won't know what happens till we come to this lower end. That's what we need to see. Is we need to see the bulls getting tired and it meeting down at this lower end of the parallel channel. If it bounces off this parallel channel, that means we probably have one more leg up to go, maybe up to this 20K zone. Okay. If we bounce, and I think that also depends on what's going on right now with like CPIs, what's coming out with like news related stuff. If we get bad earnings, we get good earnings, we get good employment, we get bad employment or unemployment, what's going on in the stock market. There are other variables that are impacting what's going on. But I think, definitely we're going to come test that lower end of the channel. And we could not, like, if you look back here, look, I mean, we've tested it perfectly. 1, 2, 3. We almost came down just above it here. So we haven't tested this lower channel in what seems like nearly a month. We actually haven't tested the lower channel in a month. So majority of the time, these upward sloping bull traps break down. There's always that possibility of we bounce, and then we're off to the races. It depends. Is Bitcoin going to break this 28K region? If we do, then we invalidate this channel. We actually invalidate it. What you don't want to see is you break it and then you come back down. You can't break above it. You break and you're just struggling to break above it. And then we collapse. We break down. That would be a continuation of the bull trap. That's the type of scenario where, oh shit, wait for the retest. It's staying above it. Now this resistance has become support. Then it's off to the races, right? Then we're perhaps looking at a new bull phase, or maybe even a longer rally like we saw back here in 2018 where we rallied up. It didn't mean that it was the beginning of the bull market because we then chopped for a year later and then we took off. We could be going through one of those moments again, right? This could be the lows. We're in this general region of the lows and we're going to chop a lot and go up, go down. Honestly, who knows? I don't have the answers per se. It's just my speculation. But what could also happen here in a bearish scenario is it comes back down. Let's say we bounce here, we go back up. Maybe we make a little bit higher highs, go to 25, 26, come back down. Then we start really fizzle out, and then we break down and begin the next leg down. I think if we do get another leg down, we're going to definitely either put in a lower low. While they're putting a lower low anywhere in this 20K region, I think this is a really good value zone. I'm personally going to be scooping up alts like a madman if we come down to this region. I don't care if we're above the low that we set back in June, or if we go a little bit lower in that 16, 17K region. That's like, for me, it screams buy. That's where you want to be gobbling, not financial advice. I'm just saying for myself. And so we just got to see. But generally speaking, in probability speaking, these are all probabilities, right? I have no idea what's actually going to happen. I just think the probability is it will probably go down, either make a higher low, or retest here, or make a lower low. So I think we're probably going to break this parallel channel. They tend to break down. They've done it before. We've seen it happen twice now. It's been priming our psychologies to want to buy. You're feeling very starting to feel like that FOMO up here. I definitely felt that FOMO. I was like, shit, should I buy? I was really thinking about buying. I didn't. I resisted it. Turned out to be the right decision. So we just don't know what's going to happen here. We definitely could always come back up. Keep that in mind. We did it here. We did it here. We did it here. There could be a little bit juice left, but I think eventually we're going to break this channel. If we don't, God bless, man. God bless. I still have a lot of positions in crypto. I'm not completely out. I would love for those valuations to go up. I'm not trying to be a bear man here, but that is my 2 cents on Bitcoin from what I've been seeing, from what I've been educating myself. Dude, there's some weird stuff going on. Let's make an Inflation Reduction Act. So let's inflate the money supply with more printed money that we don't have to reduce inflation. It's just absolute mania, like just insanity. How does that make sense? So Biden signed 2 things recently into law: Inflation Reduction Act, and then it's like Build Back Better or something. The climate healthcare tax bill. So all this really means is it's just going to come out of the American taxpayer pocket. It's just more spending, essentially. It will raise over $700 billion in government revenue over 10 years, spend 400, let me see here. Is a sweeping $750 billion healthcare tax and climate bill into law. With this law, the American people won and the special interests lost. Oh, really? For a while, people doubted whether any of what was going to happen, but we are in a season of substance. So there's a lot of stuff here. 1% tax on stock buybacks. This is ridiculous, including a 15% minimum tax on large corporations. Like, this is really not good for the markets. Okay, this right here, very bad for the markets. And this may not actually end up good for the people, because what will companies do? Okay, you think they're just gonna you think they're just going to nobly pay it, or you think they're going to hire a bunch of strategists and find a way to maneuver around it, fire this person, reshuffle assets here? Come on, man. This isn't this isn't school where everyone's going to line up and let's play by the rules. You're dealing with a class of people that don't live by the rules. They break all the rules. They make their own rules. It's ultra wealthy. It's a completely different class of humans. What ends up happening is we the people end up getting hurt from all these policies, all this BS, man. And I don't think I'll show you a clip later from Kevin O'Leary, but there's a lot of debate and division in government right now regarding all this stuff, what the Dems are doing and the Republicans and even people in the Dems. There's a lot of contention and disagreement. We're probably at all-time highs in it. The Senate, I'll show you Kevin's clip. It's actually bullish coming up in November because there's something called gridlock coming up where for 2 years straight, no bills will be able to be passed. More on that later. Okay, so we have that, and we have the, were these the 2? Inflation Reduction Act, and then the Climate Health. Sweeping bill allocates more than $300 billion to be invested in energy and climate reform. It's the largest federal clean energy investment in U.S. history. Okay, more spending. Cool. There's a cap on prescription drugs for Medicare. Biden and Democrats want to get credit. What is this? They want, exactly. So before the midterms, which is important, I've told you guys about this before, Democrats want to promote the benefits of this legislation. Yeah, including the energy efficiency tax credits, other benefits like lower costs for prescription drugs won't be felt before voters head to the polls. Okay. Yeah, so here you go. I mean, your senior politicians just playing. They're just campaigning to win your interest, and we'll see what happens. But this is, to me, I don't know. It's kind of alarming. I understand, you want to do climate action, but at the same time, I don't think, they need to be smart how they do this, and they need to not put stupid laws that just the rich can just avoid, and then we end up getting getting wrecked. You know what I mean? I don't think a lot of this is really going to be effective. But we'll see. We shall see. So there's some of that going on. Oh, by the way, Izu, they're collecting wallets now. So I told you guys about this back when they were at 50K, 30K followers, I think, around that range. Look, they're 120K now. They're massive. They are collecting your ETH or Solana wallet addresses. So if they're following you, if you have this little follows you, DM them your ETH or Solana address, whichever you prefer. It's on either or. It's like a cross chain, a multi-chain mint, which is really cool, dope. Just an FYI out there if anybody was lucky enough to get the whitelist. We have Capo saying a short squeeze is coming. What a short squeeze is actually the people who are short get liquidated. So the markets will go up. And like I said, that is quite possible. We could be in for one more push up to get that euphoria, to get that like, holy crap, here we go. And then we just go nuts, right? If you look back in March, that was precisely the sentiment. I definitely felt super bullish around this period of time. I remember when we dropped down, I was really scared. We saw this. I didn't really buy it. Then we came back down, retested. I'm like, interesting. So I stayed out of the market, chilled. Then this happened. We set that a higher high from here. And then I got like, whoa. Then I got like quite then I got quite bullish. I got very bullish here. Felt very confident. And it's at that pinnacle. We saw it on the RSI. RSI came to 70, right? RSI hit super high. And then the next leg down began. So we'll see how this unfolds, right? We'll see how this unfolds. I just think that whatever happens in this like immediate short term, the medium term, like in going throughout the next couple of weeks, maybe a month or so, is bearish. That's my personal okay, there we go. It is bearish, my personal opinion. But anyways, let's see here. Oh, it's just some wisdom. This is just some oh man, I wasn't showing the screen there. Whoops. There we go. Y'all were just seeing my face. I was talking about Izu. Let me just make sure. Okay. I was talking about Izu. Send your address to DM them if they're following you. Like I said, if they're following you. My bad. And then I was just talking about short squeeze. All right. I won't ring your ear on that. I think you guys understand. Best thing for most cryptos, remember how smug and fearless you were when we were up. Oh my goodness, honestly. Like, this was the time to sell, ladies and gentlemen. Up here and here. Now, it's not the most perfect time. If you want to be more vague, like you can't predict markets perfectly, but that range was a good selling range compared to where we are down here, right? So now we understand that when there's euphoria in the market, it can last a while. Like, technically, we were in the bull market for what was like a hot minute when we really started breaking those all-time highs. How much time is that? 1 second. This is a daily chart. Yeah. So then I'd say up to here, 331 days. So it was literally like almost a year of just mania, and you get used to it. You really get used to it and you think it's going to last, but it doesn't. It really it can't. It's not possible. You can't just go up forever. That's, you know what I mean? When you learn about like the Federal Reserve and how money flow works and all this stuff, and also the charts it's humans at the end of the day. Like, what do you think these are? These are people buying and selling. It's humans. It's human behavior. So keep that in mind. But yeah, it's nuts. There's been so much to learn from the bull market. Now, take in how foolish you were and uncertain you are now that you are down. Exactly. See this right here. Look how smug you were and fearless. And now when we're down, you're acting foolish, uncertain, doubtful. You have to actually be smug and fearless when we are down. Be smug and fearless when we are down. You want to be uncertain when we're up. See that? Okay? Smug and fearless when we're down, uncertain when we're up. And swear to yourself you'll never be that damn foolish or disrespect money again. I guarantee you'll make it. Happens to everyone your first time. Learn from it. Keep the pain close. And keep your head up and don't quit. You have plenty of time to make it back. And now you have the wisdom to. Yep. Well said, man. Very well said. Only 1% of people are millionaires. This makes people think their chances are very low if they try. Truth is, 98% of people don't even try. Your odds are way higher. I don't know anyone who's really gone for it and didn't end up in a better place for it. I literally don't. Facts. Man, how many people do you know that they're just doing nothing with their time? They spend so much of their time just playing video games, watching Netflix, not being productive. There's nothing wrong with doing those things. But when you really do an assessment on yourself, you go in the mirror, you're like, what am I doing on a week-to-week basis? How much time am I spending this? How much time am I spending that? What are my goals? You know, why Am I an ambitious person? Am I really trying to become better? Am I advancing myself? Am I becoming 1% better each day? If you're someone who is ambitious, you really get after it, you really dedicate yourself to it, and you make sacrifices. Doesn't mean you live like a robot or live like a monk, but hey, if you want to, it's up to you. It's really possible. Like, damn, if you can't make it to a millionaire, if it's that hard, if it's truly that hard for you, at least you'll be better from where you started. You know what I mean? That is an absolute fact. I think honestly, that's a guarantee. You may be fat or you may be overweight and you're not happy with your body. You may not be able to look like Zac Efron after a year or two of putting in the work in the gym, but damn, you're gonna look so much better than before. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the takeaway here as well. So there's no reason to give up and there's no reason to be complacent. You must strive to be better. Your ancestors are watching you. Your family depends on you. Be the best you can be. Be the best you can be. That's my philosophy. The Chinese economy is experiencing a near complete collapse. Nearly 500,000 customers have lost their deposits as the banks lent indiscriminately to housing developers who are now facing cascading defaults. Here's the story of the Chinese government. Doesn't want you to know. Oh, shit. All this begins with one thing: real estate. The Chinese are obsessed with real estate, and 70% of China's wealth is tied to real estate, twice as high as the U.S. Reports are now emerging about real estate Ponzi schemes, mortgage boycotts, and unfolding banking crisis. Real estate bubble, mortgage defaults, and banking crisis in China, 2008 veterans. So true. Chinese citizens prefer to invest in real estate as the Chinese stock market is notoriously opaque and unreliable. Right. So they find safety, and at least this is a home that I can live in. And there's also the culture aspect of, like, if you have a home, you're high status. The Shanghai Composite, similar to the SP 500, has not yet recovered from its 2008 peak, despite China's GDP growing by nearly 3 times since then. Wow, that's crazy. Look, in 2008, it hit 6K, but it's still not up. It's not there yet. It hasn't even gone up there, even during the pandemic. That's crazy. Huh. For some context on how crazy the real estate market is in China, the median home price in New York is around 10 times the median annual income. But in Beijing, this can be as high as 25 times the median annual income. Holy smokes. Shenzhen, 7.7K. Sale price per square meter. They're double. Even though income in US is higher, wow, it's at 1.5 to 2 times more expensive, the real estate in China per square. That's crazy. Look how inflated it is. That's crazy, yo. That is crazy. The insatiable demand led to Ponzi schemes where developers pre-sell homes, which are not even built, use the pre-sale money to start more projects, and then collect more pre-sales for new projects. Oh my goodness. Buyers started a mortgage boycott as the properties have not been completed. That's insane, man. The crisis spread to banks as they had loaned out depositors' money to developers who are now defaulting on payments. As frozen deposits mounted and protests erupted all over China, investigations revealed critical systemic issues. For starters, during the COVID crisis, the government had lowered the 10% limit on assets that banks had to keep in cash, and investigations revealed corrupt practices in the banks, some of which were taken over by criminal gangs who transferred the deposits outside the country. With reports suggesting that over 400,000 customers have fallen victim to such activities, public trust in the banking system plummeted, and the government stepped in to avoid bank runs and liquidity crunches. But their strategies seem at best questionable. The government has agreed to pay up to $15,000 for lost deposits, but only if the banks weren't involved in non-compliant transactions. What? The government's strategy for over-leveraged properties is to lend more money to finish them and pretend that everything is fine. Real estate bubble bursting, banking crisis, the Chinese government. Nothing to see here. Please get back to work. Whether these strategies can revive investor confidence or is simply delaying the inevitable remains to be seen. China is unlikely to meet its targeted 5.5% GDP growth rate. And right now, youth unemployment is at nearly 20%. That's crazy. As the semiconductor shortages showed us, events across the world can have serious consequences back home. Chinese companies have substantial investments in U.S. equities and might sell them during a crisis. This can tilt the investor sentiment to fear and trigger sell-off. That's so true. The global economy is so interconnected. People do not realize that when one economy defaults, it's a cascading effect because there's so many other countries that rely on the imports from one country for their own exports to another. So as one falls apart, they fall apart, and the other one relying on them falls apart, and the other one relying on them falls apart, and it's just cascade. It's a really bad negative spiral. Short-term investors should keep an eye out for news from China. The events and its impacts are covered in more detail in my newsletter. Okay, thank you, Graham. Really good thread. Wow, that's that. I've been seeing like the footage of tanks, and I know that there was the COVID crisis there is ridiculous right now. Like how the government's handling it is insane. It's dystopian. I really feel for the Chinese citizens, for the Chinese people. I'm praying for things to get better, but yeah, it looks like a lot of recklessness from the banks, from the government. We'll just have to see how this goes, man. But yeah, like keep your eyes on China. If China falls apart, we're definitely going to experience some blood here. Some TA from Gareth Soloway called the crash. I was watching Gareth, when we were topping in November, he was saying, yo, I don't buy this rally. I don't think it's real. I think it's a fake out rally that we need to see if we can break through 66K and like hold that area and then continue on. And we didn't. And he was bearish. He said, we're going to go down and test the 20s and bottom out somewhere around 10K. And he's been right so far. So this is what he's currently saying regarding what we've been experiencing since mid-June.
So this is where it gets really tricky, right? Is that as
let me just make sure y'all can hear this. Yeah, what do you ladies and gentlemen, what do you guys think? Everything I'm saying right now. It's pretty crazy stuff. Okay. We have audio enabled. Oh man. Excuse me. Let me just double check that. Okay. System audio. All right, we're good. Excellent. All righty. All right, Mr. Gareth.
As much as I think it's going to 12 or 13, at this point, if you've ridden it down from 65 or 69, the question is it worth dumping some of that position and trying to buy lower? It's hard for me to give advice on that because it's such a tricky thing. I wouldn't want it to hit 15,000 and then start its next bull run and then people miss out on it. What I like to do is basically I would just say, if you're still in it and you've ridden it down, I don't know if I'd take the risk of exiting if it, at these levels. I mean, even, if you think about from 69 to where it is, that amount of drop. I mean, if I'm saying it's going to go to 12, it's only another $10,000. It's the equivalent of from 65 going to 55. It's not that big of a move. So just so everyone knows what I'm looking to do, basically below 20 at 19, I put 1/6 of what I want to own as a HODL position in Bitcoin into a portfolio, right? And basically every 2,000 to 3,000 down, I'm going to add another 1/6. So I'll have 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6 of a position, and then finally a full position at 6/6. If it gets below 10,000, that would be my last ad right there. So I would say to people, I mean, you got to choose what you're most comfortable with. But my recommendation is at this stage, just dollar cost average at this point down. Just do it slowly so you can space out your buys. And then eventually I do believe that you see 100,000 on it, maybe 500, even 1 million down the road. Look at how flat it is comparatively. I mean, it is just so flat in terms of a bearish consolidation pattern. So I do think that's exactly it. The next kind of risk off period takes Bitcoin down to that 12 to 13,000 level. And again, I think that's where you have a chance at making a bottom. There's a small chance that, I kind of do the comparison where I look at the Amazon chart from 2000, because I kind of say, hey, look at Amazon today. That's where I envision Bitcoin being like the biggest player on the block. So what did it do? What did Amazon as a .com do when the .coms collapsed? And Amazon actually dropped about 95%. So that's my real worst case scenario. I think my goalpost right now, my kind of common sense target is 12 to 13,000. But I do want people to be aware that there's always a chance that you could see that 95% drop, which takes us back to about 3,500 on Bitcoin. Now, again, Amazon.
$3,500. I really think that's a worst case scenario. That would be we would need a black swan for that. I don't see that happening without a black swan. $3.5 thousand Bitcoin. That's the bottoms of 2018. I mean, if that would happen, the market, there'd be so many people who are so done with crypto that would melt. Michael Saylor would be liquidated. That would be a doomsday in crypto. That would actually be a doomsday. That would be pretty scary. I mean, arguably that would be a buying opportunity of a lifetime. If that happens, I don't think it will. I think that's a very rare bearish case, but I do appreciate Gareth's wisdom. I think he's correct. He's like, anything under 20 is a value zone. It's a buy zone for me. I commend him for that. I think dollar cost averaging is the way out, because it's like you just don't know where you'll bottom. 20, 17.5, 16, 15, 14, 13. It could be any of those zones. Or in the rare case, maybe we've already bottomed, right? But I think he's right on the money, man.
At that point was, if you took away the split, it was about a $6 stock, and then it went to like 3,500. So again, then map it out where Bitcoin could go later on, and that's why I'm so long-term bullish on it. But it certainly is. I mean, this is unprecedented in terms of Bitcoin's history with everything going on. The Fed, Bitcoin's never experienced a tightening phase like this. Inflation this high, it's only been around since 2009. I always say to people, charts are truth, meaning that, you can go on, listen to the news, you can read stories online. There's always bias in that stuff. I mean, even if someone tries not to have bias, we inherently have bias. But what you can't do is say that a chart has bias. A chart is just showing you the general price action of basically millions and millions and millions of investors. And if you can read those patterns, it tells you the likely scenario of what's going to happen.
Well said, Gareth. He's really talented. I want to talk about some bullish stuff too. I don't want this whole stream to be biased. I'd like to also present some bullish stuff. And I think this is actually really good for crypto in the long term. Kevin O'Leary, man in the bottom left, you might know him, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank. He has become a total crypto degen, dabbling in metaverse, NFTs, crypto gaming. He's just all over it. Apparently, he's got like 50 positions. It's ridiculous. This guy used to mock Bitcoin, and now he's just a total degen. And he has some interesting. He actually has some interesting things to say.
No, it's not just that. We're going to get regulation. Listen, we were supposed to get a policy just on stablecoins reviewed this month. They pushed it, and I'm talking about now on the Hill in Washington. They pushed it to September to consider it. You got to remember, there's Haggerty, there's Loomis, there's Toomey, and Toomey is going to retire in January. He wants to get one piece of policy done. He wants to get stablecoins regulated. And the policy they're putting forward, I've been spending a lot of my time in Washington on these bills. And I'm not the only guy doing this. And I'm totally transparent on my interests here. I want to get some kind of payment system for my global businesses when we're transferring cash. I want to use USDC between here and Geneva. We index. I have an indexing business. So we're constantly, every day, taking US dollars, ACHing it over to Zurich. They charge me a fortune for that. It takes 36 hours sometimes. Then they nip me on the FX trade when I go into Swiss francs and buy a Nestle or a Roche or whatever I'm buying to index it. And then they screw me again on the way out. I could completely eliminate that with a payment system. And everybody knows that. So there's a lot of utility. Second reason you got to be bullish here is this. Both sides are supporting this, Dems and Republicans, because it makes the dollar, if you get a U.S. stablecoin policy in place, it makes it the default payment system of the earth. Not the Swiss franc, not the euro, not the British pound, not the Chinese yuan, the U.S. dollar. So this is coming back to the House on the floor in September, and it may be the first piece of legislation that provides the launch ramp for more crypto policy. Now, you know there's a war going on between the SEC and the other regulators, a turf war on crypto, but you can't deny crypto is here to stay. In fact, I believe in the next 10 years, it'll be the 12th sector, the S&P. And I'm trying to make bets all through the continuum of projects. I own everything. I have 32 positions. I don't know which ones are going to work. I don't need them all to work. I just need a few. Huge position in Ethereum, huge in Bitcoin, Solana, Polygon, Helium, Pollen, the new one I just took on. There's all kinds of projects. And the thinking for me is this. You go teach a class of MIT graduates in engineering right now. I do guest lecturing there. 1/3 of the class are entrepreneurial. Where do they want to go? They have no interest in working in any of the 11 sectors of the economy. They want to work on the blockchain. They want to be in crypto.
baby.
You can't pour that much intellectual capital into something and not have great outcomes one day. It's like being at the beginning of the internet. And I'm talking about the
Mr.
smartest,
Wonderful.
brightest men and women
Preach.
from around the world saying, screw everything else. I want to work on crypto.
So that is precisely why, even with Gareth, like he's saying, listen, probably going to dump in the short term. God knows what's going to happen in the short term. However, he's saying, yo, 100K, 500K, even a milli is in the picture for Bitcoin in the future. Very bright future for crypto. Do not let the short term jade you. Okay. You remember that euphoria. It's going to come back one day. And you want to stay in this market for the long haul. That's why they call it hodling. I know people meme it when we're at all-time highs, but that's the idea, is you want to be that person who's got so much of these assets in the future with a ridiculously high net worth, so you're free. So you can use your Bitcoin, use your ETH, and what's it called? Get a loan against it to get cash, and you use a tiny fraction and you can get a ridiculous amount of cash. Like the freedom it can afford you is incredible. I share his belief, and it's true. Like some of the brightest minds are in the space right now, and they're all flocking to it, and they're really like brilliant, incredible beings in this space. Super bullish long term, like giga ultra. There's no other market I'd be in. There's no other place I'd be in. Crypto, of course, green energy and AI are going to be really big markets. They're emerging markets. As well, crypto is going to have its place, and it is also an emerging market. I think 20 years from now, we'll be at that point where you miss the boat on crypto for sure. Like you totally, utterly miss the boat, and you're now, there'll still be opportunity, there'll still be growth, but it's not going to be this. It's going to be diminishing returns. It's not going to be as early as we are right now, so damn early. Really puts things into perspective that there is no legislation yet. Like, just imagine if USDC gets regulated. That would be incredible. You know how much money would flood? Maybe even USDC would become a ridiculously big market cap, right? That would be massive and a big win for the US. A big, big, big win for the US. So we'll see how it unfolds. Watch this interview. It's why Bitcoin altcoins can go much higher on Crypto Banter. Kevin O'Leary also explained something called what's going on in politics and what's coming up in the midterms, and something called gridlock. Like when Washington goes into gridlock, it's a period of time. Everything prior to November 8th, I believe, that's when they have all the time to like get shit passed. And after that period of time, Washington goes into gridlock, and basically nothing gets done and nothing will change over those 2-year periods. So that's also very reaffirming for the markets, knowing that there's a level of certainty. And during that period of time, it'll be very pivotal as to what gets passed, what doesn't. Maybe there's some BS stuff that gets revoked or some bills that get revoked. And then we go into gridlock. We'll have to see how it unfolds. We already talked about China. That's Nico. Don't want to. That's some TA. Okay. Crypto fear and greed. We already talked about this. Back in the 33s, we were around 42. We talked about Bitcoin. Okay, so the stock market is still holding up pretty well. But here's the thing. We're putting in a lower high. Okay, technically, we still haven't broken past that March high around 4,600. And now we're still up. Like we're up 1.39 on the 5-day. The monthly is up 9%, which is massive. However, I do want to show you that technically we haven't busted through that March high, which was a bear market rally, right? And we're very close. Honestly, we've already recovered half of all this shit that we just been through. So if the stock market starts turning down, we're definitely going to have another leg down on Bitcoin. But once again, stock market holds strong and it just keeps breaking up higher and higher, and we break the highs in March. Very bullish. Very, very bullish in my opinion. Very bullish. So we'll see. But everything is still doing okay. But this might be the turning point, and crypto might be actually leading the turning point ahead of the market, ahead of the stock market. So we'll see. But we're just about to tip into greed. And this is generally, if we're in a bearish period, when you're around the 50s are generally equivalents to being in the 80 zones during a bull market. The 50s are great times to be selling when you're in a bearish period. They're generally fantastic selling opportunities. In fact, if you chart it, if we pull it up right here, if you literally just bought when we were in single digit and then sold when we were in around that 50 zone, when we were in this bearish period, look at this. Like you would have been buying down here, these prices, sell whenever we go up to 50, right? And we experienced that during March. Even here, if you bought around 9, you literally bought the bottom and you would have been selling right now and made a really good, like 100% on Ethereum, 30% on Bitcoin or whatever. So we'll see what happens, y'all. Is this the turning point? I don't know. I can't predict it, but just speculating with y'all. We had the Fed minutes coming out. It's kind of, they don't know whether it's kind of 50-50. So they might actually start not being as aggressive, but at the same time, we hear some things like, oh, it all depends on the data. Yes, CPI is down. It's lower than we expected, which is good. The consumer price index, the inflation reports. So they might actually start not being as aggressive than doing 75 basis or 50. But we have to see, because you never know. Like I remember back in February, we were like, oh, there's no way they're going to hike us to 2.5%. There's no way. And here we are. Yeah, we're here. So who knows? Honestly, it's totally 50-50. I don't trust any of them. But and what I'll leave you with now, the Fed is at some point going to have to stop being so hawkish. They don't have a choice, actually. And this is the alpha of today's show. Okay. Just 20 months ago, central bankers were offering to buy nearly every junk bond known to mankind, dramatically distorting the true cost of capital. All the way from crypto to emerging markets, it was a moral hazard overdose. Everyone on earth was borrowing money at Fantasyland bond yields. Now, the Fed is promising endless rate hikes of $1 trillion, balance sheet reduction onto a planet with emerging market and Eurozone credit markets in flames. In 2021, global debt reached a record of $303 trillion, according to the Institute of International Finance, a global financial industry association. This is a further jump from a record global debt in 2019 of $226 trillion. As reported by the IMF in its global debt database. Volcker, y'all know, remember people keep talking about this, is Jerome Powell, Paul Volcker, he's the Paul Volcker of our age. Volcker was jacking rates into a planet with about 200 trillion less debt. Let me repeat that. Paul Volcker, all right, the guy in the 70s when he's jacking up the inflation, people are freaking out, and he's jacked up the interest rates up to double digits, all right? And people are speculating that we're going to experience that. Volcker was working with 200 trillion less debt. 200 trillion. You know how much trillion is? Less debt. That's insane. Okay, so there's no way in hell. There's no way you can compare, we're in that all over again, because we're literally not. We're literally not. If Jerome were to do that, this is what would happen, okay? $250 billion of distressed debt is threatening to drag the developing world into a historic cascade of defaults. The number of developing nations trading distressed has doubled, with El Salvador, Ghana, Egypt, Tunisia, Pakistan appearing particularly vulnerable. With the low-income countries, debt risks and debt crises are not hypothetical. Try buying oil in USD in an emerging market currency. It's horrible right now, for real. I'm Iranian, and my family back home, the inflation is ridiculous. Their currency has been the most debased it's ever been. People are really struggling right now. It's horrible. A fifth, or about 70% of the 1.4 trillion emerging markets sovereigns have outstanding and external debt denominating in dollars, euros, or yen, according to data compiled by Bloomberg. Academics at the Fed are exporting inflation into countries that can least afford it, decimating communities all over the planet. The tragedies are piling up. While given cover from their well-paced collections of pawns, tough guy Powell was playing his Volcker act, right out of a scene in a poor man's poker game. In terms of who's actually running the show, emerging market bonds are plunging 10 points a week, and Powell wants you to think he's got pocket kings. truth is the global credit risk dynamic has the aces, and the Fed is looking down at pocket twos, if that. The IMF has total lending capacity near 1 trillion. Powell is currently wiping out 10% of that. Ultimately, this lost tribe will be coming back, hat in hand, yet again to the U.S. taxpayer. So now we have a global bank balance sheets stressed by 20 to 30 trillion in mark-to-market losses from equities, treasuries, European government bonds, crypto, private equity, and venture capital in the middle of the worst emerging market credit crisis in decades. Emerging, not necessarily U.S., but the emerging market credit crisis. Look at China. Look at what's going on. It's fucked. After all after just 150 basis points of rate hikes from the Fed. Hello, anyone home? There are a lot of bonds that look like this. Oh, by the way, Egypt owes the IMF $13 billion. The Fed just lit these liabilities on fire. If the Fed keeps its policy path it promises, take the tragedy of Sri Lanka and multiply it by 10 across the globe over the next 6 months. Checkmate FOMC. Boom. Only 1,350 people viewed this. Okay? Alpha. This is alpha right here. This is some next level shit you're not going to hear on the mainstream. Inflation's running rampant. Well, I don't know, because we're in a pretty messed up spot. You can't just keep running up the rate hikes, because literally we're going to have hell on earth. So we'll leave it at that. I know it's been a pretty packed stream. Let it relish your brain. Sleep on it. Think about it. Figure out your own investment plan, your own investment strategy, what you plan on doing yourself with your funds. Like I said, the outlook here is very bullish for crypto. I'm very, very bullish in the long term. We're probably going to see some volatility in the short term. The Fed are a bunch of hooligans who think they know economics, but they simply don't. Okay, they simply don't. And at some point, they will pivot. They cannot be hawkish forever. It's impossible. Literally, it's impossible. And remember, they created this problem. As much as they want to point the finger to Ukraine, Russia, and of course, that's having an impact on shortages, they printed 80% of the money supply. They almost doubled the total money supply during the last 2 years since Pandy. Think about that, okay? Money printer go burr, and they just want to wag the finger and pretend like they had no impact. They did. They absolutely did. So yeah, we'll see them play the same game again. You know, will it involve destroying the markets and then they end up pulling it back? God, it's exhausting. I don't think following the markets so often and that's why I don't day trade, because it's literally like you gotta treat it like a full-time job. It's so volatile. It's so volatile and you really don't know what's going to happen. But I do like following people like Gareth. He says, hey, the charts are truth. You're going to have this person say that, this person say this. Everyone has their own biases, but the chart is truth. It's just the data. It's just the millions of investors buying, selling. So, you know, make your own decisions. This has been Franken TV. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. And no giveaways today, but we'll do giveaways next week. I promise, guys. Beauty. All righty. I'm going to head out. Appreciate y'all. Have a great rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend. And I'll see y'all next week. This has been Franken TV, your humble host, Dan. I'm peacing out.
my shorty, pick a number, ask her what she want. And she told me that she only need a one-on-one. You can go and check the wallet, I'm just having fun. Watch the money come, I ain't tryna flip. Baby, I just bought the dip. And then my bitch is curvy, I ain't talking about her hips. Didn't need a white list, took a shot I can't miss. I'm just sleeping while they sleeping, they forgot the deal is. Now I'm like, oh no, I don't want that FOMO. We about to blow. Don't blink too quick, might miss it when we go.